Hey there! We are going to put a slightly different spin on our weekly reading this time around, using a Lenormand deck. Stay tuned to see.
For all time's sake.
Hi, it's Leia. Welcome to this episode of Diaries of a Witchy Creative Life. If you saw last week's weekly reading, we used the Shadowland Tarot by Monica Bodersky. This week, we are using another deck by Monica Bodersky. This is called Shadowland Lenormand. If you're new here, here's a little intro to how we do readings here. First of all, and most importantly, they are not predictive. Our focus is on doing shadow work. Our approach is for the purpose of healing and self-awareness. If you've never heard the term shadow work before, in a nutshell, it's the process of taking a look at parts of ourselves that we've cast aside, swept under the rug, or dissociated from. And it's typically because there's something negative we associate with it, whether it's shame, fear, embarrassment, or maybe it's something else. We reconnect with these parts of ourselves so that we begin the journey of embracing them, accepting them, or at least finding some peace when it comes to these parts of ourselves. Because denying their existence doesn't mean they don't affect our lives. And just to be clear, accepting that there's a part of us, for instance, that rages or is really angry doesn't mean that we give ourselves the excuse to just lash out at anyone because we're accepting that that part of us exists. More accurately, we learn how to manage it so that it doesn't have to sneak up on us like that. Take a look at the other videos on this channel in order to get a better understanding of shadow work if you're interested. Also, before we jump into the reading, even though I date them, these readings are actually timeless. If you've missed any from previous weeks, and you keep a journal or love doing personal growth work, there are a lot of prompts that can help you reflect in all these videos. So let's get started. Let's adjust this. Give some room to the card on the right here. We aren't following a particular spread here. We are going to look at the cards individually and see what questions we can ponder on based on what each card means. But stay tuned, because at the very end of the video, I am going to add a different element to this reading that I haven't added to any of the tarot weekly readings or oracle card readings, because I believe I do have one at this point. So we're going to start by flipping these over one by one. Card number 1 is Anchor. So Lenormand, for those of you who are completely new to it, is like tarot in the sense of it being known to be used for predictive purposes, for fortune telling. As you know by now, we don't follow a predictive style of reading on this channel, so let's jump into some shadow work here. If this deck intrigues you, by the way, the guidebook is set up to help you do shadow work. There are journal prompts or questions for reflection for each card, but those are just to get you started. What we are going to do here is look at what each card means and come up with some questions to ponder for this session we're doing. So, anchor. What does an anchor mean to you? It could stand for security, stability, safety. But on the flip side, it could also mean being stuck or weighed down. So that depends on your perspective entirely. Sometimes we deliberately use an anchor to anchor ourselves. Sometimes, though, whether we know it or not, an anchor keeps us in a space that we want to move on from. And we have to reel that anchor back in so that we're no longer stuck. So some questions here. Where in your life might you be needing to feel safer and more secure? It could be time to address that or to do something about it. For example, someone out there may have started to see someone new, and they really like them, but they haven't had an honest or in-depth conversation yet about what either of them truly wants out of a relationship. And that could be affecting the sense of safety and or security that one or both of them has regarding that relationship. So having that honest talk then would be in order in that case. And for someone else, maybe a more appropriate question to explore would be, how in your life might you be feeling weighted down right now? Maybe there are certain situations that you now need to release or to release yourself from. Maybe they were good when you got into them, but now they're not truly serving a purpose in your life anymore. So think about that. Here's one example. Someone might choose to do a job because it fits where they are in their life at that moment, their needs, how their life is set up. And so they go into that job and all has been well for quite a while. Maybe for months or for years, everything's been great. But in that span of time, the conditions of their life have changed. Maybe for some, there's an addition to their family that wasn't there before, that they now have to support. Or for others, there are professional opportunities if they moved elsewhere so that they can be in the actual career of their dreams. So when they first started this job, it was an anchor. It gave them a sense of security. But now, with the changes in their life, even if they may be happy at that job, it isn't necessarily the best place for them professionally anymore. So go ahead and think of what the equivalent of that may be for you. What might have been giving you a sense of safety that the time has come for you to let go of now. Moving on to our second card, we have clouds. What do clouds mean to you? Let's give a few possibilities here. Clouds could stand for being in a bad mood, pessimism, confusion, anxiety, but also they do offer some protection from the elements. Let's say it's a brutally sunny day. When all those clouds come out, there is a level of protection there. So let's ask ourselves now, how might we have been pessimistic? Even if you generally consider yourself to be upbeat, sometimes it can be more of a mask, but you're truly worried about something. And even if you don't want to share that with the world because you consider it private or whatever other reason you have, at least with yourself, you can be honest. At least that's the hope when we do this sort of work. So what worries you or makes you anxious that you might not have been acknowledging? Or maybe you are very aware of it, but you haven't been dealing with it. Or okay, for some of you, you may have been dealing with it, but it's not the best way to deal with it. Sometimes people are aware that they're in a bad mood, and when they snap at the people in their life or lash out at them, they say stuff like, I'm PMSing, or something happened to me, so just understand that this is the way I am right now. Sure, there could be a reason why you're not exactly Little Miss Sunshine right now, but all these reasons still don't give us an excuse to take it out on someone else. For instance, in the PMS example, there are PMS teas and supplements that many people swear by, and I'm not a doctor by any means, so you take full responsibility for choosing to try out those options. But what I'm saying is, don't let what you're going through be an excuse for why you're mean to other people. For me, to give a very personal example, I choose if I am not in what I feel is my best state, or at least a good state to be around people. I keep to myself because I don't think it's fair that I take what I'm feeling out on others. And sure, sometimes people come to their own conclusions anyway, like, oh, she hasn't been around lately, or she's not very social. And then they think you're snooty or something along those lines. But I know my reasons for staying away. It brings me more peace, and it really doesn't do anyone any favors. If I feel emotionally yucky and then I'm just trying to smile my way through a gathering, or be really cheery in conversations with people, even in text messages, because I don't have the bandwidth to hold space for what someone else is going through. So yes, some things to think about. What puts you in a bad mood? And how can you manage that, or what can you do about it? What might be giving you anxiety? And how would you like to treat that? Pay attention to what the answer might be for you, because there are different people watching this video, so of course what's right for one won't be right for another. Someone might feel like it's time to start seeing a therapist, but meds aren't right for them, while for others, I've heard that meds have been pretty life-changing when it comes to depression, anxiety, and other mental health concerns. And now let's move on to our third card, which is Dog. So let's talk here about traits that a dog symbolizes or stands for. Loyalty, friendship, reliability, and on the shadow side, that would be blind loyalty, not questioning what you're told or just following someone because you like them or you've put them on a pedestal, regardless of whether their advice or their points of view are truly beneficial or kind. So a question here could be, could you use more true friends in your life right now? Who would you say are your true allies? So we aren't talking about yes people here, and by yes people, I mean those who, like I mentioned earlier, have blind loyalty towards you. Maybe they've put you on a pedestal so you can do no wrong in their eyes and they just say yes to everything you say. Maybe they wouldn't step in even if you were engaging in behavior that is harmful to yourself or others, because they wouldn't want to risk you getting angry at them or being displeased with them in some way. Those, for example, who have some level of celebrity or influence may have a lot of yes people around them. The yes people might seem to want to do whatever they can to help you, but they aren't true friends. Many of them could be there because they just want to be seen with someone who's as important as you, and they have something to gain from that, maybe further their own career. And for others, it's an ego stroke. So whether you're some sort of celebrity or not, you could take this opportunity to take a look at the people in your life, so you can evaluate who your true friends are. And it's true that there are tiers to friendship. There may be people that you aren't comfortable sharing your deepest, darkest thoughts and feelings with, but they're nevertheless fun to hang around. And you know that they don't mean you any ill will. So as long as you recognize tiers, you don't necessarily have to get rid of certain people in your life just because you can't share absolutely everything with them or you don't feel safe doing so. And you could also look at the other end of all this, being, who might you have been loyal to, but the friendship or association has actually not truly been a good one. Maybe you and this person want very different things out of life, as in incompatible things. Like, you want to help the world in some way, while they can be kind of mean. And you've seen that they're not interested in changing or on working on themselves. This could be an opportunity here to clean house, and to also ask yourself if there is hesitation to cut off a so-called friend, even if you know that they aren't right for you, or you aren't right for each other, you're not good for each other. What is behind that? You could take a look at your motives and your fears and work on those in yourself rather than attempting to hang on to what that friendship symbolizes once that you've done some unpacking and dissecting of the true issue here. And so now we are going to do what I promised in the beginning, which is to add another element to this reading. that I don't typically have in the other weekly reading videos. So when Lenormand is used as a fortune-telling or predictive tool, one of the ways that's done is to read the cards this way, from left to right, like you're reading a sentence, making connections between all the cards. We are going to do that right now, but still not in a predictive way. We are going to mold it to our shadow work approach. So a final question to leave you with could be, what could serve as an anchor in your life right now to help you through any pessimism or anxiety or states of being in a bad mood? And who might you be able to turn to as allies through all this? So there's a question right there that I've put together by stringing the meanings of those cards together. So I'm leaving you in this weekly reading with that final question, which was based on reading the cards from left to right. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. This was so much fun for me to do. Yes, reading tarot for me in the shadow work approach is super fun and meaningful, but doing this brought some spice to the weekly reading for me. If you enjoyed this, I invite you to take a look at the other videos on this channel. You might resonate with some of them as well. And if you generally like the content here, I also invite you to subscribe and get notifications for the channel. That way you don't miss a single thing. I'll be back towards the end of next week for another weekly reading, and in the meantime, there will be other videos related to healing, self-awareness, shadow work, very likely tarot-based or something along those lines. I'll see you again really soon. Take care of yourself. Bye for now. More Diaries of a Witchy Creative Life Made with Love are coming soon.